You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Hey, everybody out there. Welcome back to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. You're here with Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
Seth.
That was a long hey.
I was trying to think of something witty to say, and I just kept dragging it out. Because I obviously didn't.
Wow. That's a good open.
Hey. I'm just going to keep doing it. The Office. Hey.
Hey. Oh, shoot. That was fun. Let's go do it to somebody else.
Hey, The Office was on television.
That's right.
That reminds me of television.
I love it.
You've just crossed over into the Twilight Zone.
Live from New York, it's Saturday night!
Marsha!
What's up, man? Right, yo. Yo, come on. Yo, Omar's coming, man.
I'm Prison Mike. You know why they call me Prison Mike?
Beavis, please sit down.
Are you threatening me? I am Cornholio.
First sign of youngsters going wrong, you got to nip it in the bud. Nip it.
And I'm sitting there with Woody, and I turn to him and I go, boy, these pretzels are making me thirsty.
Picture it. Sicily, 1939.
What you talking about, Willis?
Won't you please won't you be my neighbor? Hey, neighbor.
Afternoon, everybody.
Nobody had any anecdotes, all right?
No, we've pretty much covered it already. Off before we started recording. So
that's why you should become a patron. Patrons get behind the scenes cutting room floor audio.
However you want to put it.
Some
it's good
bonus
stuff.
Episodes, some freebies that there's some bonus. What would you call it?
Content.
Content. There you go. Content. Plans start at just $1. Find out more at patreon.com/YouDownWithKPP. Is that correct?
That's it.
All right, then. Let's talk some television.
Well, it's spooky season. Anybody get any spooky stuff?
Spooky.
This Halloween, you can't escape the shock, the terror of Werewolf by Night.
Tonight, it is every hunter for themselves.
Good luck. I'll be rotting for you.
But one of you is a monster, masquerading as one of our own. I can't wait to find out what breed of evil you are. You wanna see this, darling?
Please don't do this. Death is coming for you! Werewolf by Night.
heard people talking about the Werewolf by Night, big Marvel drop. This was kind of snuck up on us, right? Like, this was this kind of a surprise?
Yeah.
When it was announced not too long ago?
It was a surprise when it came out. I had no idea.
Well, they announced it a few weeks before it came out.
Yeah, but it wasn't something that was on the big board 3 years ago and everybody was waiting on like it.
Not as far as I know.
Were you guys, is this a thing? I was very unfamiliar.
Yeah, he's a horror character, like in the 70s when Marvel expanded and had a whole bunch of horror line with Man-Thing and Morbius and Blade and Dracula. They had a whole, corner of the Marvel universe was horror stuff.
And his name it's Werewolf by Night. That's his full name.
Yes. Werewolf by Night is the character's name. Jack Russell. Clever.
For real.
Clever
Yeah.
stuff.
For real.
Yeah.
All right, so this was a quote-unquote Marvel Studios special presentation.
It almost looked like the CBS? Or, yeah.
It was like it was a takeoff on the classic
which
TV.
I appreciated.
Yeah, very cool.
So 52 minutes long, so almost like one episode of a show, not quite a movie. Directed by Michael Giacchino, who is a musician, a composer. He has over 150 composer credits to his names. He's done a ton of Disney stuff, Marvel stuff, all kind of stuff. But
He's the man.
This is his first director credit. Shot in black and white. He apparently said it was to mute some of the blood and gore, so it didn't get a TV MA. It was an homage to the classics, but that was another reason, was to keep it TV 14.
Yeah, I was a little surprised by the how much gore there was in it, being on Disney Plus.
So it was shot, made to look like that old 30s, 40s film stock. Like it shuddered occasionally, and it had the cigarette burns pop on the corner of the screen, like to give it that vintage kind of feel. So yeah, I don't feel like too many people are that familiar with these characters. So it was Ulysses Bloodstone's funeral, and they're having a ceremonial hunt to see who would inherit the Bloodstone.
Well,
that's comic lore.
Wheel breaks. I was like, what? The Bloodstone hunt.
The Bloodstone.
Literally, I mean, that is a classic Captain America 6-issue story. I mean, this is totally retconning my Captain America, and I don't stand for it.
You were waiting for Chris Evans to pop in at some point.
Yeah, and it's like late 80s. This is the series that I think Crossbones, it was his first appearance in comics. And it was like Cap and Diamondback, and the whole deal was Ulysses S. Bloodstone or whatever. I want to say, it was Zemo, Helmut Zemo, the son or whatever, got his sternum or whatever, and the Bloodstone was in it, and they were using it to find other parts of the Bloodstone or whatever, because this powerful gem stuff and whatever. It was almost like an Infinity Stone type thing, but it was a very Indiana Jones type miniseries or whatever feel to it. It was a lot of traps and fighting sharks, and just doing a lot of that type of action and
waving sternums around.
Yeah, it's just a great storyline. It's a really, really solid, story, and it was neat to see the Bloodstone used or whatever.
I thought it was great. I mean, I really did. Just off the bat, it was not what I expected. I did not. I don't know. I guess I didn't have much expectation for it, because I really just watched it as an afterthought today. I thought, well, what's out? What's, kind of Halloween time that I can spend a couple hours on, and man, this thing hooked me right away.
Yeah, to me, it wasn't a story that needed 6 or 10 episodes. It didn't. It was a very simple kind of story, a throwback, spooky monster story. I enjoyed it for what it was. It didn't. I don't know that it broke any new ground besides introducing a few characters and concepts that who knows if they'll ever come back, but. It was a fun experiment. Like we always say, Marvel can do a lot. It can do comedy, it can do horror, it can do sci-fi. You can use these characters in any sort of format, and this further proves that, I hope.
Good stuff. Check it out.
But the Elsa Bloodstone, it took me a second to place who that was. There's Laura Donnelly, who was in that HBO show, The Nevers, the Joss Whedon show, where she plays a very similar character, a very prim and proper British woman who also kicks a lot of butt and can, do all kind of kung fu and stuff. So I thought she fit pretty well into that role.
She could be a recurring character, if they're gonna start having this type. I mean, there's gonna be a Blade. Yeah. There could be other monster hunters.
Well, I think the big thing about they were promoting this show as it was filmed using all practical effects. The whole thing. And they said, it
wasn't the whole thing. It wasn't all practical.
Well, no, but I mean, a lot more than usual. And
that Man-Thing certainly had some effects there with his face and all that shit.
Well, no, I mean they did with the powers and stuff, but there was an actual.
I mean, his suit. Yeah, I know. I'm just saying it wasn't all.
No,
but yeah, it did a bunch.
But I'd heard that part of the reason he did black and white was also to kind of hide some of that, because he used so many practical effects in it that it would look more realistic.
I thought that the Man-Thing looked good.
Yeah,
it was really good.
Does anyone remember the Man-Thing movie from 2005?
No way.
Yep.
Go home, or you will die. When nature takes over. One town. Must face the unimaginable.
Oh, what's that? I can't see anything.
Marvel presents Man-Thing.
I've never cared about the Man-Thing.
It was
anyway,
sci-fi. So. It was filmed on the cheap, and no studio wanted it, so it came out as a sci-fi original and then DVD. It was the most generic horror movie. It was people out in the swamp, and the last maybe 20 minutes, you finally see the Man-Thing. People keep getting, they're out to hurt the environment or whatever. It was some dumb. It was a terrible movie. The worst thing to ever have a Marvel character attached to it. One of the worst.
I was so not when I was a kid. I did not care about when I saw Swamp Thing or or Man-Thing. I'm like, get it out of here. I don't care about this at all.
Well, I actually thought I knew there was something there was Man-Thing in Marvel in the Marvel universe, but I always assumed it was just a rip-off of Swamp Thing.
Me too.
But I think it actually came out first.
They came out very close to each other.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things they both just sort of, hey, it's a swamp monster. There was a character in the 40s called the Heap, that was a big swamp monster. So, it's not a novel concept that somebody had to have cheated somebody. So it's pretty fair to say they came up with them individually. But yeah, I always loved Swamp Thing, but he could talk.
Mm-hmm.
He had kind of a limited, there'd always be a bunch of ellipses in his word balloons because he talked very slowly. But there would be caption boxes where he thought these very complicated thoughts. Man Thing did not talk, did not think.
No.
Man Thing just showed up. It's like there's not much you can do with that character. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. There's a legion of Man Thing super fans out there, but he's got a long history. He's been around for decades, and I don't know. There's something interesting about him. I hope you could do. So maybe this is the start of that.
Mm-hmm.
But then we had the Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and we ended in full color.
Yeah.
Gail Garcia Bernal and Ted hanging out together. So there's got to be more to come.
Maybe next Halloween, maybe we get a sequel.
Ooh.
I'd be up for that. That'd be
more
annual.
Bloodstone adventures. I need more Bloodstone stuff.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I haven't watched Mr. Boogedy yet on Disney Plus this year, so it could be our new Halloween go-to.
Should we stick with Marvel and finish out the She-Hulk series?
Sure.
We've only got one episode left. We haven't talked about episode 9, the big finale.
Mm-hmm.
Love it or hate it, I guess. There's not too many people in the middle of this show.
I guess I'm in the middle. I mean, I would say I loved it, but I did not hate it for sure. I'd watch another 10 episodes if they kept putting them out. I mean, it's completely fine. It's like no-brainer entertainment. I don't have to think hard about it. Just enjoy it.
Yeah, I really did enjoy it, and I really liked the last episode.
I thought that was cool. That was it was good.
Putting it out there on those on all those crybabies that have been bitched and moaned about this show the entire time. the foresight it took for Marvel to do that so far ahead.
I don't know that it would take psychic powers to think there would be backlash to a show about a strong female.
Mm.
Yeah. So it started off with that 70s era intro for Savage She-Hulk, and it didn't need to do anything more for me. I was already a near shot-for-shot remake of the Bill Bixby series opener.
Amazing.
Mark Ruffalo standing there like Bill Bixby, just like leaning his hand on the top of his leg there. So I was like, come on.
Perfecto. All right, so spoilers for this episode. After her anger in the previous episode, she gets taken into custody, gets an ankle monitor put on her. Don't turn into She-Hulk again, Jen. So she's very quickly lost her powers, loses her job, loses her apartment. So she has to go to Blonsky's for a mental health break. She's going to go back to the retreat. Meanwhile, her friends use a video of her, much like that Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez tape of her dancing in college that was somehow scandalous. We find a scandalous tape of her as a college kid. Post it to that intelligentsia website. They're in. The guys will love it. They're part of the crew. So then we find out who Hulk King is. So we thought it was a Josh dude. That's what I thought. I don't know if we got it wrong or the show swerved, or it doesn't matter, I guess. But it's that Todd, the annoying guy who's been a client all season.
They made it the even bigger dweeb.
Yeah, he is the Hulk King. And booked for their group. They booked the Abomination as a guest speaker to talk to their intelligentsia crowd. And it never quite played up whether he knew what it was. Like, was he there because he was evil and against She-Hulk, or was this just it seemed just like a gig? He didn't even, it was just the generic, talk he was giving.
Right. He was the guest speaker for the night or whatever, but not a permanent fixture, I think.
Obama stay. So we had the messy ending where everyone showed up at the same time. had all Titania came in and Bruce came back, and it was just a whole big mess. She didn't like the messy ending. So what does Jen do? She breaks out into the Disney Plus menu, kicks out her own window, and climbs in another window. Visits production, where she learns no one sees Kevin.
Yeah. So, all these storylines that would normally, in a Marvel movie come together at the end to all work, fit each piece into the puzzle. Mm-hmm. She just, she immediately gets the ending she wants instead. And she's just like, forget this. This is dumb. And all these fanboys have worked themselves into a shoot. They get so caught up in the story that's being told in it that they confuse that for reality. That's the ending of the show, So when she takes herself out and goes to meet Kevin, the big decision maker, it's like saying that we removed Jen out of that Marvel formula because that's what everybody's been complaining about, the problems with the Marvel formula. Mm-hmm. And she's this smart character that she can call out the problems with the formula in the show. So, or with, the entire phase 4 that it's and different.
She doesn't have to, she doesn't have to play by those rules. She doesn't have to go down that road. She can tweak it.
Exactly.
So Kevin is not Kevin Feige, as we assumed. It is Knowledge Enhanced Visual Interconnectivity Nexus. It's a robot with a brim of a hat.
Yeah.
Pretty good design. I like the design. Mm-hmm. Said he's artificial intelligence. It was the quote, the most advanced entertainment algorithm in the world. Which is a little bit of a dig at your parent company. Like, right. This is like, we create these based on a formula. Here's it's a success. We make money doing this way. That's a little brave to come out and say, shine the Wizard of Oz. There's a man behind the curtain. It's not all organic and storytelling driven. It's an entertainment algorithm. But we'll leave that debate up to the internet, as Kevin says. He asks She-Hulk to transform back to Jen because she's very expensive. But wait until the camera's off you, because the visual effects team's moved on to another project. And I didn't catch this, but apparently, right, there was a musical cue from Black Panther when he said that. So a little tease of what the next, they're already off working on Black Panther, which again is a little bit of a dig because there's all these stories about the VX teams being overworked and underpaid and the harsh working conditions at the Marvel machine pumping out all these shows. So again, the spotlight, that specific thing of like the VX people are working too hard.
Which also says something about phase 4, because like with the Infinity Saga, with that, the first, all those other phases that came before, there was a lot more time in between the projects that they could introduce more into making that formula work for them. Where now with like phase 4, everything, there's just shows and movies and stuff coming at us constantly that, hey, guess what? These guys are moved on to the next thing.
So she, quote unquote, fixes her ending, and we don't really get an ending. That is the ending. There is no ending. She made up her own thing. So we ended a family barbecue. Matt's there hanging out with the family. Bruce shows back up. Hey, he's got a kid. Scar, son of Hulk, has just shown up with a weird haircut that everybody's making fun of. That's it. That's the end of the show. All right, it's a sitcom. Like, should we have been? We say this about Riverdale all the time. Like, don't try to solve the mystery. It doesn't matter. Like, who was trying to steal her blood? What was the plan for this? It didn't matter. It didn't matter at all. And I don't feel that. Again, like Riverdale. I should have known what show I was watching and just gone with the wave and been fine with it, right?
Riverdale has prepared us.
For many things.
Yeah, it was funny because after it was over, I didn't care about any of that stuff. I didn't care about any of the plot points.
I barely cared as it was going on.
Yeah.
So, good on you.
So yeah,
we get the post credits scene of Wong coming back to free Emil, the Abomination. I forget what did it say? What took you so long or something? He's like, we're living in an era of peak TV.
Yeah, Alicia wasn't watching She-Hulk as it came out, and she kind of binged it just, I think, in one day, maybe two. But we watched that Madison episode the other night, and it was her first viewing of it, and she was just like, she loved it as much as we did, but she was just like, I don't even know what to think about this with Madison and Wongers and the spoilers and all of that. And I was trying to hint around to it, when this was the week this came out to you to watch it, and you were too busy doing whatever. So she got to enjoy it a little late, but we got another laugh out of it.
So yeah, Wong is off to his next adventure. He'll be in 8 other Marvel things, but we don't know if we're getting a season 2 of this, or when or where Jen will show up in the movies. We have no idea at this moment.
Wait and see. Wait and see. Oh, Seth, I am, by the way, we only lasted a week without HBO Plus before, we added it back on there. So I have went back, and I'm slowly getting through the House of the Dragon shows. And it's fine. It's not, as good as the original, but
nope.
But it's good. I'm starting to piece together who everybody is, and then I went through the first time jump episode, so I'm just a few behind.
Yeah, there will be more of that. This is the setup. This is the setting the table season.
Saw an interesting thing tonight. Question on the internet. Somebody was asking, just to broadside you with this, but what's the best show, or the best first season of any show? I immediately had a thought.
I immediately think of one too. Best, I don't know.
The best first season of any television show, like just the perfect season.
Well, my first instinct just of recent is Westworld. The first season of Westworld is one of the best seasons. It all falls off after that, but that first season is a masterpiece.
Jordan, do you have an answer?
That's tough. I don't know. First thought was Breaking Bad because it was good from the beginning, but it's
only like 6
still
episodes.
The first season doesn't really go all in.
Mine was Heroes from NBC. I remember just that first season just being so enthralled with that whole storyline.
The whole country was. It was like a phenomenon.
It was.
I didn't watch.
Trying to follow like 12 different main characters in that first season, like they did an amazing job of it. But I don't know. That was the first thing I thought of. I thought that was an interesting question today.
Dave.
Yeah, maybe Lost. Maybe that's in that sort of vein of like something that really grabbed people right from the beginning.
Yeah.
Dave. First season of Dave.
So I would say Justified, but then season 2 got so much better. But
yeah, I'm sticking with Westworld. That's my favorite first season of something.
Okay.
Which I'm glad I have to use it there because I'll never use it anywhere else. Like it's it's known for its first season.
Yeah,
it is known. Well, I watched a spooky show on this Halloween season on Netflix. Mike Flanagan returned for The Midnight Club. This is a guy who made Haunting of Hill House and Midnight Mass, which we really enjoyed those two shows. So he's back with a 10-episode series. Each one's about an hour long. And these are based on the novels by Christopher Pike, who is like more of a young adult writer, but he writes horror and sci-fi and stuff, but for a younger audience. So it's 8 terminally ill teens in a hospice in 1994. So they gather every night at midnight and tell scary stories to each other. So the concept is 28, Netflix optioned 28 books that this guy wrote. So one of them was The Midnight Club with this concept, and they're using all the other books are the stories the kids are telling. So every story, every episode has a story within a story, and it's one of this other guy's books. And there's a wide variety. There's a serial killer story. There's a time travel story. There's a more of a supernatural, like witch story. So it's you get the central mystery of what's going on in this house, and then each episode there's something else going on. So I thought that was a pretty clever way to do this, especially if you're a fan of this guy's writing or grew up reading this. I thought that was cool. It's set in a big spooky house with a big staircase like all his other shows. It is actually the exact same house used in Lock and Key. Netflix built this house as as part of Netflix productions can just use this big spooky house, and they reused it. But it's the same sort of Flanagan thing of shadows, and you see ghosts occasionally out of the corner of your eye, and it's all that spooky stuff. So it stars Heather Langenkamp, who was Nancy from Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yep, just the 10 of us also.
Oh, sure. And then for Midnight Mass, it's got Zach Gilford and Samantha Sloyan, who are two of the other main characters. And then everyone else who's ever been in one of his shows is also in it at some point. A couple of them are just voices, including Carla Gugino. She just does a voice for just a split second. She's like a voice on a TV somewhere. But pretty much every actor you'll recognize. Oh, I remember that guy. He was in his other show. So he has a very specific crew of actors that he works with. But I liked it. I liked the again, the main story was we're in a spooky house and stuff's, we're all dying and we have to deal with it. And something, there's something mysterious in this house. And I don't know, there's 10 episodes. I don't know that 10 episodes, we needed 10 episodes of that story, but having all these other stories intermingled really worked. It helped flesh out each, the character telling the story. You learn more about that character by the story they told. Mm-hmm. And it had a few, the themes that were going on in the show would touch on, the stories they told would touch on the themes going on in the bigger scheme of things. So it was just a clever way of doing things. I liked it. And it could have ended and been done, but it didn't answer very much. Like there's still, why would the ghost be there doing that? So apparently there are plans for more, but it hasn't, like everything on Netflix, it hasn't been renewed yet. They're waiting on the algorithm to tell them what to do. Kevin has to get in and tell them if they should make a season 2. But I thought it was interesting. Mike Flanagan gave an interview and said it's designed to be ongoing. We also didn't answer some of the bigger questions of the season. Those answers exist, but were meant for the next season. And then he said, if there isn't a season 2, I'll put them up on Twitter. Then we'll at least be able to talk about it. I don't know that I've ever heard a creator basically say, I'll spoil everything. If I don't get to make it, I'll spoil everything so the fans can talk about it. So I thought that was clever. I did enjoy it, but I have one gripe. The show is set in 1994. And there were multiple times where I was like, wait a minute, that's not from 1994. They sing Green Day's Good Riddance. I hope you had the time of your life. It's not just in the soundtrack. It's a very 90s soundtrack. There's some good music in it too. But they have a sing-along where they sing that song. I'm like, I know 1,000% fact that song came out in 1997. And then someone makes a reference to an X-Files episode that came out in 1998. So I'm like, I've never been that guy where like, some old war movie, like that gun wasn't invented until the 60s.
I was more meticulous with our RPG thing.
Yes.
Than these people were getting paid millions of dollars.
So apparently I'm an expert in 90s pop culture. You're not going to sneak that by me, I guess, of what is correct for the 90s.
That would drive me insane.
But a decent show. It's not on the level of his others that were, there's really excellent horror shows that we've talked about before, but I'm glad I watched it. It was entertaining.
Yeah, I was wondering about it. I've heard kind of mixed reviews. Some people really like it. Some people just said it's okay. So I don't know. There's so much to watch that you got to really sell it to me. We didn't finish Disney. We watched more Andor. Currently the best thing on TV.
Agreed.
And what was crazy, I'm the only one. I haven't heard anybody else say this, but that 6th episode that was, the climax of the second 3-parter, basically, was great. I loved it. But I actually like this 7th episode even more. Like, it was so good. I loved all the intrigue and just the character building. Moving this. I loved it. I freaking loved it. I love Mon Mothma. This show is so good. Anybody that is not a fan of Star Wars shows, this is not what the other ones are. This is
true, but I don't understand why more people aren't onto this one.
There's
the ratings are not, well, they should give the ratings, but I've heard like it's not getting the hits that all the other shows did.
Well, for one major reason is it's not a kid's show. Kids are not going to watch this no matter, they aren't going to give a crap about it at all. So that's going to definitely hit your ratings, and then your parents aren't going to be inclined to sit down and watch it if their kids weren't already watching it. So I'd say that's a main problem with that, but I really don't care. I really don't.
It's for you.
I'm enjoying it, and they're not going to stop making it. So they'll complete the story. So
I love the visuals. The sound is amazing. I highly recommend also turning up if you have speakers or whatever you've got going on at home when you watch this show. But just the acting is so good. Just the little things they do, facial movements or kind of a glance over sometimes. Just, it's Star Wars showing, not telling. Star Wars is very, very guilty of telling us exposition and stuff.
Yeah, it's it's made it like all these other prestige shows where you have to sit and say, what was the theme of this episode? What are they trying to get across? What is happening to this character when they're not really saying what's happening to this character?
Yeah.
Star Wars is always very, here are the good guys, here are the bad guys. There's a conflict that can be solved with a laser sword.
Yeah.
And then,
right.
There's not much subtlety to it.
This is not, space knights and wizards and stuff like that at all. And there was a scene in the first few episodes where after we meet Luthen and then he goes back to Coruscant and he's in his shop and he's getting all dressed up, to play his
Somebody
part.
mentioned that scene to me today.
Really?
I was playing D&D and I said something about that show. He's like, I still think about that scene in like the 3rd episode or whatever, where he just like kind of stands there.
That's it.
Like, in that moment where is Stellan Skarsgård, as they may, where he just goes through the motions of getting himself into character to become that person. Was such a great touch.
It was, and it's in a weird way, I can so relate to that. Like as
pull that polo on at work.
Yeah. So as a salesperson, man, like it really feels that way some days. A lot of days. It's just like you're playing a character. and that was crazy. And I kept thinking about that scene over and over.
So he's introduced as, okay, he brings Andor into the rebellion, right?
Right.
So is he the Obi-Wan type character? Okay, that is good guy. That is our good guy, right? That is the mentor that will teach the young guy the ways of the good guys. But so now we've gotten, okay, he started this fight and he didn't tell Mon Mothma, and he's going to get a lot of people killed. And what are his motivations? Pure. Like, it's a complex character, and that's great. Like, there's a lot still to learn about this guy. And is he, he's willing to get his hands dirty, and he's basically doing it for the right reasons. He has very little screen time so far, but he's already way more complex than a lot of these type, the rebellion or Jedi type characters we've had before. So,
yeah, that's for sure. And that, talking about this episode 7, the last episode there, I'll just say at the end, when he's taken his cut and he's ran away, gotten away, and he's on this, vacation planet, beach planet of some sort.
Did you see what his alias was?
Keith. I didn't put that together until you said that. Yeah. But then, just such a powerful thing, like showing, of course, Rogue One tried to do it, but I think this is doing it better and showing that everyday life and stuff. And even, The Last Jedi with the Canto Bite stuff that didn't really hit, kind of slowed the movie down. I thought this was much better just in that scene. And then, for him to just walking along and start getting harassed, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so timely, so real world right now in the news stuff, done so well.
Some places talk about how that is, the fascism at the top, how that trickles down to the petty, beat cop, right? Abusing his power, so we go from the system, the systemic problems of, the problems at the top, and they get enforced, further down the level. So we're seeing it all. We're seeing the full level.
Because they think that they're, by enforcing this stuff, they feel it's their power. It's not there's people above them that they're wielding. They're wielding. It's their power, and they're part of the power. They're not on the football team anymore, so they're this is all they got.
No question on what side of that we stand.
But it's I like all that. It's showing, the Empire again. The Empire were the bad guys. Okay, we never saw how they ran the galaxy in the first couple movies. Like, they were just the bad guys because they were evil. They did evil stuff. But this is showing the actual imperialism taking place, the colonialism. Going to these native lands and stealing the land, giving no thought to the natives that they're destroying, their culture, their customs. Again on a macro scale, and then also on the micro scale of, this offense used to be 6 months, now it's 6 years, and we're seeing more there weren't a whole lot of stormtroopers at the beginning. Like, they're showing up more and more. Again, the thumb of the Empire. So
that's where they were boiling.
I seeing the full scope of what the Empire is and how bad it really was.
They've been boiling the frog to sell. Everybody's slowly losing their rights, and now they're like, turn it up. We need to scare the hell out of them. Let's up all these sentences, and now that we've infiltrated everywhere and run everything.
But they wanted to do that anyway. So using this robbery and the crime is up across the galaxy. We need to be stricter. Like, it gave them an excuse, to get, And I'm sure there's people saying, they should have just complied.
They would just do what he said. Why,
Right.
I love that when the I don't know what kind of droid is K2SO.
He's just an Imperial, I don't know. He's a security droid.
Thinking if you knew the exact, something like that. But I love that they played on that fact with that droid, that he, just like K2SO, would take things literally.
Yeah.
And so when he was like,
hang.
He said
hang.
or whatever. Yeah. or whatever it was. Yeah. I was like, that's funny that they go with the literal thing, just like he was.
Yeah.
It was good. I like I said, I love Mon Mothma, all that, the intrigue with that, and that she doesn't even know what's going on. Like, what other people are doing, her trying to figure out if her friend, which side he was on, whether, it's all good. It's all good. I'm what at the end? Yeah, he gets 6 years, and I assume the one girl that they left on the planet will come save him or whatever,
Yeah. Yeah, they're it's certainly saying a lot as a whole in the story, but yeah, I'm glad it's not nearly over. I was afraid of it was going to be a series where I just started
we got another month of it. So I'm psyched.
So I'm pretty excited to see where
it is really great. I would definitely recommend it to anybody that likes a good intriguing action show. It don't even have to be a Star Wars person.
Yeah,
I think you get a little more out of it.
I saw some people online talking back and forth of like, because the original post was talking about how mature this was and how grown up and how smart it is, and somebody was replying, I don't need a mature Star Wars show. I don't need a dark, gritty Star Wars show. And they're trying to say, mature is the wrong word. Like, it's Star Wars for grown-ups. So like even that doesn't quite hit. So I don't know how to describe it, but it is, it's a subtle Star Wars.
It doesn't have to be flashy. There's no lightsabers waving around to keep your attention. It's the story and the acting. Everybody's acting is great. I love, and what's the guy's name? The officer that we're following the whole time that is just trying
Johnny High Collar there.
Yeah, trying to be an individual by going so far as to wear a brown suit with a high collar, and just the way he ends up at the end of the episode, like Severance. He is just like pushing buttons on looking at a screen in a room with a million other people the same as him, like exactly what he did not want.
Right. Granny, his Sicilian granny got him, turned in a favor to get him that job. Like, that is so
it's like, I like that realistic guy. I have high hopes for him. I want him to, there eventually that will come to a head in some way, and I just hope that he ends up on the other side. Like because it's not like he is imperialist. He is just rule of law, and if it was the right people in charge, he would be trying to make sure that the right things were being done. He's just in that.
He could be an Agent Callus before Agent Callus in Rebels.
Yeah.
It's that minutia of evil of, okay, he's part of this evil empire. He just pushes buttons. He's just getting a paycheck. Like, is he evil? Well, he's part of this giant evil. Well, I don't know what. And the same with the female officer in that room of like, it's such like petty office politics.
Yeah.
Trying to jockey for promotion in this giant bureaucracy of evil galactic empire. We still have
CIA.
This petty backstabbing nonsense. It's like that's kind of heartening.
Yeah.
To a degree of like, it's the whole galaxy is just made up of this.
A nice touch on them in that group of bringing in, what was the character from Clone Wars? God, what was his name? Was it Wolf?
I don't remember.
I can't think of the officers. His
I know you're talking about.
Yeah, with the mustache. He's an older guy now. He was the character that was named in the white suit. The only one wearing white in A New Hope in the boardroom scene with Vader and all the other, Grand Moffs or whatever. But yeah, he starts as a young man helping Anakin Skywalker in Rebels, or in Clone Wars, and then has progressed on through the Empire. Now we see him as an older guy working in the ISP. It's just nice little touch there.
It's a good show. Good stuff. You guys caught up on Quantum Leap? Did you quit? Did you give up?
I watched the first two as well.
I watched the first one. Wolf J.O.R.D.A.N is that character's name.
Oh, yeah.
I watched the first episode after you guys were talking about it the other day, so I thought it was okay.
Yeah. I just I was not expecting, I 100% was not expecting them to dig so much into the old show. And like because they had said they weren't, it was a reboot or whatever, but it's not. I mean, it was just totally digging back into that stuff in this latest episode. It was kind of it's a very cookie cutter episode, probably my least favorite so far, but the ending was like, some guy comes up to him and is like, he's like, what are you following me for? And knew the guy's name and everything. And it's like they didn't do that it just was like it seems like every episode they have another idea that is interesting. So
I saw it's no longer in his lifetime. I saw it was like an Old West episode.
Yeah.
So they've expanded what Sam Beckett could do.
So they're throwing a lot of stuff up there, see what sticks. I'm still into it. I feel like there was something else. Oh, there was you guys remember The Mole? That seems like something you would have watched back in the day, Jordan.
Yeah, where there's one character trying to derail the thing.
Yeah. Is this a reality show?
Yeah, it was a reality show. Anderson Cooper hosted it the first year. And it was just a reality show where they try to do these tasks to earn money, and one person is trying to make them not earn money, try to make them lose money or whatever. And after every task or whatever, they take a quiz, have like 20 questions asking them like, was the mole in the room when this happened? Was the mole, just try to see how many questions they can get right by who they think the mole is. And whoever gets the least amount right is eliminated from the game. So there'll be like 12 or 15 people, but each week somebody gets eliminated. But it's not like there's one person trying to sabotage everything. Everybody's sabotaging everything because they want to throw the suspicion on themselves. So they don't, everybody wants to look like the mole. So other people are guessing wrong on doing bad on the quiz. So anyway, Netflix put out a season over the last 3 weeks. It just finished up today, but I always liked that show back in the day. I think they only did 2 or 3 seasons back then, and then this season's not bad. I figured out way too early who the mole was not a great mole this year. That's my only problem. But
so they don't tell the audience ahead of time.
No, you do not know. You do not know for sure. You have to decide along with everybody else. But the mole, whenever they take the quiz, the mole always passes. So there's no danger of like them, getting kicked out and stuff. But there were some neat tasks this season, some neat things they did. Basically, just letting anybody know if you like that show back in the past, it's back, and it was a decent season. Wrexham finished up, right?
Yep.
So that was good.
That final episode was so well made, showing clips from the game, and then cutting in, shots of the guys with their kids and. Yeah. People that like it was just edited so well of like, you're getting excited like what's going to happen in the game, and then they're showing you flashes of what's at stake, the behind the game stuff. I just thought it was really well put together.
Yeah.
I think I saw it's coming back season 2.
Oh, 100%. It'll be back. Yeah. Yeah, it was good.
Well, you guys watched more stuff than I did this week, but that was a good
Pretty much
hour.
all I got.
That was a good hour.
Pretty much all I got.
TV. It's here for us.
It's here to soothe us.
Well, as Wonger said, we are living in an era of peak TV, and if I will listen to anything Wong has to say. So that's it for this week. No, he's white. What? No.
Wow.
All right, we're done here, right? Okay.
He's not white. He's Wong.
Let us know what you have
There's
been
your
watching.
title. There's your title of the episode. He's not white. He's
Glad
Wong.
we squeezed it in right before the end. That's always good. There's always something that we're missing, I'm sure. So if we are missing out on your favorite show, we'd love to know. We will check it out. We'll let you know what we think of it. Or if there's something you've heard of, you maybe just are curious what our opinion is, let us know. And we'll do our best. My name's Jordan Lowe.
I'm Cliff Barnes.
Seth, bye forever.
We should have ended it like we started it. Say bye forever.
Hey. Hey.
Shit. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, can be found on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast at gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, join our Patreon at patreon.com/udownwithkpp for special content and access to Patreon-only benefits. We are grateful for anyone who chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will remain free. So please continue to like, comment, and share.